I think that in the past decades there has been a retreat from Marxism within feminism that was connected to the retreat from class in general, so the decline of social struggles and class struggle. At the same time, I do think that Marxism is not Eurocentric, although there are some forms of Marxism that may be Eurocentric, but as an analysis of capitalism is not. And it has much to offer to an analysis of gender oppression, in the sense that it offers some tools to understand why, in spite of the various transformations of our society, still we do have gender oppression. What are the mechanisms that generate gender oppression, and so on. And also there is, concerning the issue of Eurocentrism, there is also a tradition of black Marxist feminism that must be taken into account. For example, Angela Davis, that has worked on the connection between gender, race, and class. And I think this is the kind of Marxism that we need for feminism today. Okay, so what I tried to do together with other feminist authors and intellectuals in the past years was to develop what we call a unitary theory, which means that we do not believe that patriarchy and capitalism or also racism are autonomous systems, but rather that we do have to understand capitalism as a capitalist society. So it's not just the production, it's not just the mode of production, but it is a set of social relations. And in our mind, the dynamics of capitalist accumulation creates the conditions and pose the pressures that then generate gender and racial oppressions. This is more evident probably with race, because the racism actually begins with colonialism and with the process of formation of capitalism. It is less evident with gender oppression, because of course women were oppressed before capitalism historically. But the point is that the way in which women are oppressed today and the reasons why they are not the same as in the past. So we are not living in a context in which we still have a patriarchal system. Rather, we are living in a capitalist context that, because of the pressure on social reproduction that capitalist accumulation creates, constantly reproduces the conditions for gender and sexual oppression. It is true that there is a split within feminism at the moment, and this split is quite unfortunate. I do think that it is necessary that feminism includes the struggle for the liberation of trans women and gender non-conforming people and queer people. And I think that, for example, the radical feminist opposition to transgender people, especially transgender women, I think it is really unjustifiable, in the sense that we are speaking of a sector of the, first of all, we are speaking of women, and secondly, we are speaking of a sector of the population that is particularly oppressed. So to treat trans women as if they were part of the problem strikes me as absurd. So what we should work, the direction in which we should work today is rather that of an inclusive feminism. So a feminism that is a trans feminism, so that includes trans women, queer people, all kinds of sexual orientations, and that fight for the liberation of everybody. Also because we cannot separate the problem of gender from that of sexuality, and we cannot think that that we can be liberated as cisgender women without also the liberation of transgender women. So in other words, all these oppressions have the same matrix. So we need to fight them all together.